Then a few months after that, I kind of messed around with a like Pearl Jam tribute band, which is really dumb because I do not like Pearl Jam at all, to be honest with you. I don't understand what he's saying, first and
Yeah.
foremost. So, yeah.
That's understandable. I get it.
There's no excuse either because I'm a huge Lamb of God fan when it comes down
Yeah, come on. I'll allow it. You don't like Pearl Jam, I allow it.
What's up, Hero Stock Nation?
poking out the window, counting those posts with every mile. But you ain't looked back at me in what seems more than a while. Well, I can see the sunset glow shining through your hair, and I just want you to know you don't have to go nowhere. But I keep chasing miles, staring past the dashboard light. It's like the farther that we drive, the closer you get to goodbye. And I'm here trying all the while to bring you back by my side. But I keep chasing miles, you're leaving me behind. Keeps talking low, filling up the words you want, and I'm praying for a sign from you, but I'm scared to say what you want. And if your heart's already gone, girl, tell me now before we roll, 'cause I can't keep on driving if I'm driving you to go. But I keep chasing miles, staring past the dashboard light. It's like the farther that we drive, the closer you get to goodbye. And I'm here trying all the while to bring you back by my side. But I keep chasing miles, you're leaving me behind. Every mile that we're making feels like passing by, and I wonder if I'm losing you, just learning how to drive. But I keep chasing miles, staring past the dashboard light. It's like the farther that we drive, the closer you get to goodbye. And I'm here trying all the while to bring you back by my side. But I keep chasing miles, yeah, I keep chasing miles, you're leaving me behind. You're leaving me behind.
What's up, Hero Stock Nation? Welcome back to the round table where heroes talk. I'm Tom Lamog with my co-host Matthew Jones. How you doing, Matt?
Oh, you know, I am living it up, Tom. How are you doing?
I am so looking forward to this conversation with our next guest. Jason Steiner, of course, is the one who tapped me on the shoulder and says, "Hey, do you know who DJ Bridwell is?" You know, being here in Southern California, it's like, I don't recall his name, but let me go ahead and look him up. And I am, looking at his Facebook pages, some of the work that he's doing, a lot of it with music, but also with veterans. But most recently, there's a regional songwriters festival that takes place up there that I'm really excited to ask him about more questions. Hey, you've heard about it, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to talk to him. There's so many awesome musicians that come out of there. I'm excited.
We just had a couple of them on, right? Anthony
Absolutely.
Segovia, right? And then last week we had Caleb Kenner as well too, and we got a couple more artists that are lined up. But let me tell you a little bit about our next guest. He's a gentleman who stands at the crossroads of songwriting, storytelling, and community building. DJ Bridwell is a Nebraska-based former rocker and most recently a country music artist who not only writes and performs music that connects with people on a personal level, but he is also the driving force behind the Trails of Tales Songwriter Festival in historic Deadwood, South Dakota. Now, yeah, man, songwriter. You're an award-winning songwriter, and you know how it can get when it comes to storytelling. It's very vulnerable for a number of songwriters that I've spoken with. I know that you have talked with me about just how vulnerable it can become.
Yeah. I think that, music is a form of healing. We choose to take a little piece of ourselves and we put that into our music, and we sing and we create a melody that expresses it in a way that other people can kind of connect with that as well. And that's what I love about songwriting. Now, I don't do it enough. I need more practice. That's the one thing you need, practice.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I can't wait for anytime I have an opportunity to talk to another singer songwriter. I'm excited. I want to pick their brain. I want to, give me some tips and tricks. And all the listeners out there who maybe you hit a brick wall writing. Well, we got something for you, man. We got a songwriter here today, so let's pick his brain too.
We'll definitely do that, and to take it a step further. It takes a special kind of dedication to create these opportunities for other songwriters to be heard, which is exactly what DJ has done throughout this festival. So today we're going to talk about his musical journey, the realities behind songwriting, what it takes to build a musical community, and the stories that shaped him along the way as well, too. So please welcome to the round table, DJ Bridwell.
Hey, thanks, guys.
DJ, hey, man, it's good to see you. How are you today?
I'm doing well.
You've got a lot of information out there on the internet, and I was reading so many great things about some of the work that you're doing, and of course, most recently, a conversation with our buddy Jason Steiner. And there's so much to get into that. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. But before we step into that, can we go back to the song that you just performed? And you had mentioned to me that it's one of your newer tunes.
Yeah, absolutely. I wrote it actually within the past just few weeks, a month maybe at max. It had been a while. I'm one of those writers. Like I used to write everything down in a notebook, and then it got to the point where I was having troubles remembering things and doing whatever else, remembering lyrics, or I'd get some ideas and so I felt like it exercised my brain a little bit more if I didn't actually write things down. And I became this songwriter who would have, a verse chorus wrote down, and then I don't feel it, so then I just toss it to the wayside. But this one actually came about. I only write stuff that is real to me, that I've lived, want to live, that kind of thing. Stuff that is really ultra relatable. And I don't waste my time if I'm going down, I've been around enough songwriters in my life to know that when I'm writing something down, in my personal opinion, I can see when it's just another country song, or it's another casual breakup song, or I wish we were having a bonfire by the tailgate. And traditionally I'm a ballad writer and or a breakup writer, if you will. And so there's just I don't know, kind of fell in love with that. And to be honest with you, I don't say this about my own songs very much. That one has struck a chord with me, and I haven't been able to stop playing it since I wrote it. And that doesn't happen with me. Usually I save it all for the studio, because I know that I get studio fatigue by the end of it, hearing the same old song 100 different times before I get the final version released and stuff. But I've been absolutely in love with that song. So
there's a lot to be said about authenticity. For sure. You can go ahead and write lyrics that are meaningless, But when they're authentic and they're relatable, and just like that one, obviously, it's so near and dear to your heart, and you're proud of it. That was an awesome song, dude. I mean,
it flows really, really well, and how the melody kind of feeds into the chorus. And dude, I love the chasing miles, but then the turnaround or the resolve for that is, and you're leaving me behind.
Yeah.
Holy crap, man, that's brilliant.
Basically, as I try to paint a picture with every song. So the picture in this one would be a couple riding in a bench seat of a pickup, and the female being on or however you want it to be, the female being on the passenger seat and male driving, and even though they're sitting right beside each other, the distance between them and that bench seat grows, or more or less chasing miles. And so you haven't looked back at me in what seems more than a while. It's about the visual of like, I see that we're traveling together, but you haven't looked back at me. You're leaving me behind, essentially, is what that is.
20 plus year career, and it shows in that song. I mean, the words were the images that are coming from the lyrics, and just the flow of the music itself. You have been doing this a while. How many songs have you written?
I don't have an exact number. This is the messed up thing too, is because since I, which we'll discuss later, since I have taken a leave of absence from everything, I've kind of had this project in the back of my head for a long time of doing what is referred to in this house as a legacy album, and I've yet to do that. But it's something that's really important to me, and that I want to record every single original song that I've ever wrote, even if it's just a great acoustic value, just so the kids have something. This it's so unpredictable anymore. I could be gone tomorrow, but the sooner that I have that done would be a huge weight off my shoulders, so my kids have something. But if I had to guess, fully wrote songs, not that many, because like I said, I'm picky about it. I've probably had my part in about 200 songs, but as far as what I have actually wrote and could set down and play today, that'd be different yet, but I'd say probably 50 songs. It's nothing extreme.
Yeah. Well, it's not the quantity, right?
For me, it's not. No, absolutely. I probably, wrote 250 songs of some sort of, value, but to me, they're nothing. And it's just because I want to sing what I believe in. And some of them got a little carried away in my younger years as to getting away from the vision that I've ultimately kind of been after for that.
It's all part of the journey, though, right?
Absolutely.
In that career that is mentioned in your bio, 20 plus years, it also includes the recent induction to the Nebraska Country Music Hall of Fame in November 2025. What a career! Wow, I had no idea. Just the journey that you have been on. That's remarkable.
Yeah, that for one was a huge honor. I think something that I try to relay, and we'll get into this a little bit later too, something that I try to relay to all of the younger artists that I'm connected with that are going through like the Trails of Tales and doing stuff like that. Like, if there's one piece of advice that I could give everybody in general, is don't get ahead of yourself. Because there was a time, when I had been playing for maybe 2 or 3 years, that young egotistical me was looking back at things going like, man, why am I not getting inducted into the Hall of Fame? Yet my guitar player is in the Nebraska Hall of Fame. And this sounds horrible, so I hope when he takes it is exactly how I finish this. But, to me, I was looking at that like, well, he plays for me. And it's just not the approach that you need to take. And so, 20 years later, I wouldn't call it 20 years. I'd call it 13 in the industry that I was in the country music industry. The 13 or almost 14 years that I've been in that, there was a lot that I learned about that. And I didn't deserve to be in the Country Music Hall of Fame. I never did. I don't even feel like I do now, to be honest with you. There's so many great individuals that were in there. But it is an honor when it actually comes after all the work, and you look at it with, I was a huge professional wrestling fan when I was growing up. And unfortunately, when you get to the age that you start looking at all these people that get inducted in the Hall of Fame, the next thing they do is die. And so like Ultimate Warrior, I think he died the day after he got inducted in the Hall of Fame. And it's just, it's like, I don't want that to happen to me. So let's not induct me. And then it happens. So every day is a blessing from here on out.
Well, it's one thing to be a musician, but to be a wrestler on the other hand. You talk to Matt about that. He's the grappler here.
You look like a grappler, Matt.
I did a little grappling. I did a little.
That's beard. It's the beard. No, it's probably not the beard.
It's the beard.
I don't know.
I'm gonna tell you, if you had a beard and you were grappling, how could you not grab this and use this to your leverage? So.
I have a cousin in MMA here in Nebraska, and he's always been known for his big long beard and his ultra tiny shorts.
Oh man.
Hero Stock is a beard thing. I will tell you that right now. So, hey, it's great to be associated with you for sure. I know that there's going to be some stories about a partnership that is either in existence or it's about to form. But highlights of that's just it's an amazing career. I mean, DJ, it's even in the song that you just performed. You can tell the difference between I'm new at this and someone who's like, you know what, I've got all this experience behind me and I'm going to put my best forward on this one. And that's really, the latter is true here. Can you talk about maybe some of the highlights of that musical career, and then we'll move on. We'll put it to bed because I know that you said you were on hiatus from music, but it's just for me personally. I've been playing music since over 50 years now. Since I started taking lessons for piano, and then I went on to do the band in the country rock here in Los Angeles. So I'm looking forward to hearing some of the experiences that you had, but maybe you can talk a little bit about some of the high points in your music career that you're willing to share with us.
Sure. The career in itself, you could break it down. We'd be here for the next 5 years having a conversation. But, I actually started, I was writing and not releasing, but had released one single song. And I remember I burned it to a CD and I was bootlegging my own one song CD that was produced by my buddy. And we actually sold 240 copies of this single, and this was before Spotify and all that stuff. It was closer to LimeWire probably in 2012 than it was. We ended up releasing that one song, and it turned out to be a hit. But then I was in the YouTube movement in early days of musicians on YouTube, and so I ended up posting a whole bunch of covers. And of course, it's early days of Facebook. I would do the same thing, and nothing really ever took off. But when I released that single, it wasn't just a couple months later after that. I got a call from a bar owner in my original hometown of where I was living at the time, or no, I wasn't living there, but where I grew up at. And they said, what would you charge to come play a show? And I'm like, beer? I don't know what somebody charge, especially because it's the first show. So they're like, well, we want a full band show. And I did not have a full band, but I had some buddies and a lot of people involved in the music industry. And so we formed the band in a very short time. I think that I got that text message in late June, and August 4th, we actually played our first full, which would have been a 4-hour show. I'm pretty sure every song got repeated twice that night, and I had a guy that shared 50-50 vocals with me. Even though we called it the DJ Bridwell Band, he actually shared 50% of the vocals with me. And he was I grew up in other bands and stuff around him, and still I would call him a great friend. It didn't work out in the long run between the whole deal, but I think. So then moving on to the next, in our first year, I think we played 44 shows. I know. I'm a numbers guy. Played 44 shows. I went through 6 drummers, and 5. And my 6th drummer, which would have been in the 6th month of the actual existence of the band, ended up staying with me for the next 9.5 years. And he was kind of the stage manager / do everything, showed up early to make sure that the stage was taken care of, and one of my best friends still to this day. So we Band members, they kind of came and went. I love them all to death. Still to this day, I have zero disrespect for any of them. And got to the point. So that had been 2012 when we started, and it really took until December 31st, New Year's Eve. We stopped playing New Year's Eve shows for a couple of reasons. One, it was always just a drunk disaster with people up front in the crowds, spilling drinks on our monitors, costing us more money than what we were probably actually worth or making, And so we stopped playing New Year's Eve shows, and we decided we were going to have a rehearsal on a New Year's Eve down at his place. And I said, well, let's write a song. Like, we'd never wrote a song together or anything like that. So we all traveled to the drummer's location, which is our practice facility, and we sat down, and I had this riff in my head the whole way driving down there. It's an hour-long drive. And I get there, and I'm like, all right, I think I got it, guys. We just need to sit down and write around this. So we ended up coming up with 90 mile an hour, which, if anybody's followed us or our music career, 90 mile an hour was what made us pinnacle where we were kind of at. And we've had some great songs that have been released, and honestly, 90 mile an hour, in the grand scheme of things, isn't one of my best well-written songs. It's just a very relatable, blue-collar, pissed-off guy. And I think that drew more of the male attention towards like kind of what we were doing, and then that rock edge and stuff. And what's crazy is the amount of money that I spent to get 90 mile an hour done isn't a fraction of what you spend today. I think I spent like $200. The day in the studio was like $200, and I walked up to one of our buddies, and you probably know him, Matt, but Matty Sanders, drums for Dylan Bloom now, but
Okay.
quite a few bands. But I walked up to Matty, and I want to say that my numbers might be off, but I say that the studio was like $200 for the entire day, and I walked up like gangsta, throw $250 down on the table, and I'm like, make me a hit, man. And 90 mile an hour cost $50. And that wouldn't even get the guitar parts on songs that are cutting, that don't have to do a fraction for my career, that 90 mile an hour did. That's just, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
It's certainly different for sure. Even the perspectives back then about music and musicians and costs, it was, it's kind of like, okay, people have discovered they can actually do home recordings, or they can actually link up with someone who knows how to do this, and the costs are fairly, they're a little expensive, but they're still reasonable compared to today's, music dollar, where it's like, I don't know. I'm thinking that your heart has got to be in the right place to do this. Otherwise, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's that same exact deal with walking in and out of that studio that day. And I didn't know exactly what it was going to be. My experience with recording up until that point was kind of lackluster. I hadn't done a lot I wasn't familiar with it. I had trouble staying on click tracks and doing all that. For some reason that day it really worked out for everybody in the studio. We got some really good video, some really nostalgic pictures, if you will, from that day. And it's ironic because we haven't done anything like that since. We haven't, when we went to the studio thereafter, we didn't take a bunch of video and have a photographer tag along and do all that. So it was like just everything kind of came to fruition. And yeah, so, moving on from 2018, it was actually the summer of COVID. We ended up getting signed to a record label out of Denver, Colorado, Third and James Records. And I believe it was a 3-year contract with them. It was supposed to last through 2023, but COVID ultimately kind of ruined everything on the record label side. I did remain friends with and still to this day, with the president of that record label. And he ended up cutting a few songs even after the record label was more or less abolished. I think that we did a total of maybe 7 or 8 songs actually, I think, together. Incredible producer, great friend of mine still to this day. And then, COVID sucked the life out of live crowds and live music for a long time. Yeah. So during that same time frame, that 2020 time frame, there was just this huge competition. There's always has been around the area, and us old dogs will still talk about it today. And if they deny it, they're lying. But there was a huge like, hey, I'm not going to pass on shows to my other counterparts because like I want that show, and I'm trying to be the top band in the state and doing all those kind of things.
Yeah.
Out of doing that,
So competitive, in every facet of the music business, from finding the right musicians,
yeah.
landing the gigs, getting the studio time. It sounded like that was your story as well too. That it was just you're encountering a lot of competition out there.
Yeah, and what's crazy about that is just fast forwarding a short time in 5 years. I think that we'd all had some like sort of coexistence, and we went out to the Rocky Mountain Country Music Awards since I think 2017, and we would just like get each other in passing, or we were the only kids from Nebraska kind of thing. So naturally, we're just going to talk and do whatever. But when it came to the meat and taters of passing along gigs and doing whatever else, there just wasn't the camaraderie. So we sat down it was in December. No, it was January of 2020. And we'd actually, Luke Mills and I had sat down. This was right before the Country Music Awards that year in 2020, which actually got canceled. And we came up with this idea of doing the Gunslingers tour, which was basically going to be an hour and a half of his band, an hour and a half of my band, and we would switch headlining every night, but we would combine the price so it was more affordable and more attractive to, street dances and doing whatever else, and showing that like, hey, we're two friends with two different bands, but we can still work together and do the same thing. Well, the world shut down, and venues are at half capacity and doing all these other things. So we ended up just taking that same kind of concept and going out and doing acoustic. Well, when we did that, it started kind of catching on a little bit, and then it was like, all right, we'd come open up for my band, or I would go open up for his band, just acoustic, because crowds are still limited. The price wasn't there to be able to get full bands. Well, in doing so, it kind of just created a friendship, long story short, just between all of us that used to compete against each other, started moving into this inner circle a little bit closer. And I know that people are probably rolling their eyes at me right now for saying that, but that's exactly how I see it, and how it existed, or how it exists today, I think had a lot to do with just showing that it could be done. And I mean, they know who I'm talking about, but those people are some of my closest friends in the music industry. Matter of fact, 3 of us got inducted this year into the Hall of Fame, and I don't think that was, just by chance. It was really cool to share that moment with my true friends.
And you really have been through something, because I can speak to the COVID shutdown here in Los Angeles, because my band was actively gigging, and by the time it was kind of like all restaurants and bars are closed. What are we going to do? And so the acoustic scene started to emerge, just like you spoke about. It's kind of like, but it started to also bring the egos down. We're all in the same, situation together. No one's playing, no one's hiring. So let's approach this, a little differently. And I'm glad that you. It was kind of, for me, it was kind of fun to go acoustic, because basically, God, we could all hear each other. My dobro player and my fiddle player were like in heaven, because it's kind of like, oh, I can hear you guys now, because you're, you're not cranking it up to 11. It's like, yeah. But is that what your experience? Did you see that the ego started to kind of drop a little bit?
Yeah, everything dropped a little bit. As far as the acoustic side of it, like when Luke and I went out and did it, we just did a song swap, basically, is what it started at. But he's very keen on the entertainment side as well as I am. Matter of fact, he runs a developmental record label out of Nebraska now, and I don't want to say he runs it. He definitely he's one of the top 3 big dogs in there. So I don't want to outspeak my turn there, but him and I would go out and we do a song swap. So and we were learning each other's songs after show 3 of going out and doing that. We had each other's harmonies down and we're playing. So yeah, we were song swapping, but we were both singing all night and performing, and it was just a really good way to make those things happen. That's actually ultimately what led to what I was assuming is going to be your next topic later, but was having those close relationships with these other musicians and going out of town and finding new areas to play, and then Once winter's over, they're like, hey, I love that dude, or I love those two guys. Let's have them both back, but with their full bands, and it's just, everything's trial and error until it works.
It's all new territory, right? It's kind of like, okay, it's not the status quo of, okay, we're just going to go ahead and find a gig, find places to play, do the rehearsal, go perform, and on to the next. No.
Yeah, if only it were so easy,
Yeah.
Way back in the day of, before we had playing anywhere, I would go travel across literally states. I mean, I found myself in Texas. I found myself in Oklahoma, Kansas. There's been a time where we went to Florida, and this was in the middle of all this, but I just bring my guitar with me, and I don't mention anything about music right away. Just go in and find a local. I love dive bars. Go in and find a little dive bar somewhere and have a few drinks, bring up music. Next thing I know, I'm in there with my guitar. Follow a year later, and we're there with our full band playing their town festival and stuff like that. Like that, the days of gas station, I say this a million times, so everybody in the Trails of Tales is going to know about this, but the days of a gas station flyer are done. They don't exist. So there's nothing better than being in your face, promoting yourself in front of somebody by playing your own music or doing whatever else at that given time, or social media,
I want to say, COVID was right around the time where, with my music, I was just starting to kind of put things on YouTube and really kind of starting to write. So, there was no getting out and playing anywhere. It was like, okay, well, fire and forget, we'll put it here, we'll walk away. And then hopefully I get some good comments.
Here's my job, social media based, yeah. And I hate that now because, so much of even what I do, I wake up at 5:30 every morning to get a bunch of artist videos posted, for the last, today's like episode 97. For the last 97 days, we've had content every single day. And it's like, man, that used to just be we'd show up on a bar on Friday night and that was enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are no guarantees that they're going to make it through the entire video. That's the...
No, yeah. They were at the bar. They would make it through the entire show more than likely.
Exactly.
Yeah. They're staying, the more they drink, the better I sound. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, DJ.
Yes,
now might be a good time for a song break here. Have you got another tune for us?
Yeah, absolutely.
Give us a story behind it as well, too.
I'm actually going to play a song called Halfway to Texas, and it happens to be my last and latest release. I'm going to play it the way I originally wrote it before it went to the studio, and it happens to be my better half's her favorite song as well, so I feel obligated to play it. And I have yet to play it on that beautiful Ras guitar, by the way. So.
Plug for rasguitars.com. Robert, we're thinking of you, my friend.
Absolutely. Love you, Robert.
It's been a little over 14 days since I've seen your pretty face walk out the door. But you ain't coming back 'cause you don't wanna see me. You don't wanna be with me no more. So I've been driving around this town looking for a place to slow down, have 3 or maybe 4. But once your memory hits my lips and I start drowning in it, baby, I want more. Before you left, you told me I could go straight to hell. Honey, I pray for you, and I hope you're doing well. I've always had a long way to go with this sinner's heart. I'm out of control, ain't worth a damn, but I'm working on it. And I hope you know I'm not a saint. I'm crazy loud and a little bit reckless. But I'll get there, honey, don't you worry. My heaven's only halfway to Texas. There's red dirt in the rivers, potholes in the streets of gold, neon church on every corner, and the pews are always full. Wear a cross around my neck and one inked in my right arm. There's miles and miles of acres the good Lord lets us farm. So let's leave our past behind us at the pearly gates of Kansas. My heaven's only halfway to Texas. Trade his bar stool off for a drink or two, or a back road sermon, just me and you, talking about the weather. They say he turned water into wine, but he did one better when he made you mine. Thought we were forever. So I'll say goodbye to this sleepy little town. It ain't what you think, but I'm headed southbound. I'll be there for breakfast. Yeah, I'll get there, honey, don't you worry, as my heaven's only halfway to Texas. Well, there's red dirt in the rivers, potholes in the streets of gold, neon church on every corner, and the pews are always full. Wear a cross around my neck and one inked in my right arm. There's miles and miles of acres the good Lord lets us farm. So let's leave our past behind us at the pearly gates of Kansas. My heaven's only halfway to Texas. Yeah, there's red dirt in the rivers, potholes in the streets of gold, neon church on every corner, and the pews are always full. Wear a cross around my neck and one inked in my right arm. There's miles and miles of acres the good Lord lets us farm. Let's leave our past behind us at the pearly gates of Kansas. My heaven's only halfway to Texas. My heaven's only halfway to Texas.
Nicely done, sir. Road tunes. And you said this one was for your wife, huh?
It's actually not. So it's your favorite song, but ultimately, it's about a previous relationship I had. But I was actually on my way to go on a 5-day tour back in Texas, and she lived on the. Well, I live, of course, on the most farthest south of the Nebraska border that you can possibly get without accidentally tripping and falling into Kansas. And then she lived on the very far south border of Kansas, and so I was on my way to Texas and stopped by her house one night, and I made this comment when I was laying next to her, and I just said, she said something. Am I going to come back to church and go to church with her on Sunday or something? And I said, well, I don't know why I need to go to church. My heaven's right here. And so,
oh, it's so cheesy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so the whole song, if you listen to it, is about, the neon church on every corner, which is a bar, of course, and the pews are always full, the bar stools. I wear a cross around my neck. Like, I believe in Jesus, you know what I mean? But I didn't need to go to church to prove that to you. Let's just go to the bar. I'm right here. So potholes in the streets of gold is every small town in America,
Musical influences. Can you share some of them? Do you have, and it could be, lyricists as well too. I mean, there are people who are, I've got my favorites, but lyricists, authors, all of the people who kind of shape your music. Maybe you can share some of them with us.
Yeah, so I'm a kind of a third gen when it comes to music, and I grew up in the music industry. Willing or unwilling, I think I enjoyed it really a lot as a child, and I've had this discussion a lot. But when I was growing up, my parents were gone a lot of times. My mom was the bass player. My dad, even after they had separated, got divorced, they played in a band for I think another maybe approximately 15 years, something like that. After they'd been divorced, and I remember him being gone all the time, on the weekends, and I didn't want anything to do with it. I really didn't. But I enjoyed when I was there, got to go to the shows. I enjoyed practices. I enjoyed the people that were in the bands, and still today consider a bulk of them family and everything else. But musical influences besides my parents, ultimately getting me into that. Keith Whitley has to be first and foremost right out of it. And I say that for a different reason than most might, because until probably about 2011, 2010, somewhere in there, like I had heard of Keith Whitley, but I've never really taken anything in. And I remember watching this guy named Bradley Gaskin. I think was on a reality show way back in the day. He was playing Don't Close Your Eyes. So I wanted to learn his version of doing it. And I went out to a bar, and I'm going to keep this really, really vague. But I went out to a bar. It was an open jam one night. And I played that song, Don't Close Your Eyes, on stage. And that was kind of my connection through that deal. And when I got off stage, and I was so proud of myself, this was like one of my first times behind a microphone. I had walked off, and the guy that was running the open jam actually looked at me in the face and says, "You have no business playing that song." And like, he's a big, kind of like burly dude, whatever. So he like looked at me and says, "You have no business playing that song." Like, and then every time I went out to an open mic after that, I had some buddies that were out there that would get me up every once in a while, but he was always totally against it. Ironically, the night, well, it would have been 3 weeks after we wrote 90 Mile an Hour. It was the first time that we ever debuted 90 Mile an Hour at a show. We had an option of a bunch of openers for that show, and we chose that guy that ran that open mic night and his band to come out and open up for us. And that was kind of a full moment for me.
Well played, sir.
Yeah. When we talked about earlier about how the guys, how everybody just kind of feuded and stayed in your own corner of the state and didn't really want to get along. And that was very much my motto for a lot of years, is just shut your mouth and let your stage and your performance do the talking. And that was that kind of moment. But yeah, Keith Whitley for me, because of that reason, I got into a lot more Keith and learning his story. And of course, he died when I was, I think, 7 years old. And, yeah, he's got some great stories in every song. And then, some current songwriters. Jacob Bryant has been a huge influence of mine. I actually got to open up for him, which was a pinnacle of my existence, basically. And there was nobody at the show either. It was like me and him.
Didn't matter.
After I got done, and
you got some time with him, though, right? Did you have a chance to sit down and talk?
Got a little bit, and I actually gave him my guitar. He balked a little bit. He didn't want to play it. He said it's like touching somebody else's lady, and I said, "You play it." And then I sang his original song that was unreleased. Yeah, it was
You
pretty.
hand him that guitar. You touch this lady.
You touch it, kiss it.
That's quite the story.
And then, of course, we have a newly inspiring group. There's a handful of these artists. I'm inspired by all of them because they're courage to do what they do. But as far as the Trails of Tales and stuff, there is a ton of the performers that are under my wing, if you will, but are far above me, if that makes any sense, in the songwriting world that I'm truly inspired by, that attend our event and stuff. So I can't limit it to just one or two of even those, because they all truly inspire me.
So I did want to ask, after listening to both of the songs that you played, do you try to write in different formats? For example, the first song you played, you had a verse and then you had your chorus. Well, in the second song, you had your verse. I thought there was going to be a chorus, but then it segued right into another verse. Yeah. So I wanted to know, are you like forcing yourself to write in different formats to really kind of elevate your songwriting?
So there's a lot of, of course, with any music, it's ever changing. If you listen to the traditional, say, 70s and 80s country, to me, it was always verse, chorus, chorus, or verse, chorus, and done. And then, then it became the verse, chorus, chorus, and then the verse, chorus, tag, bridge, everything else. So I do, and honestly, being involved in all sorts of different kinds of music throughout the years, that I think that I try to. I don't want to be a one-lane artist. I don't want to be able to just write one way. And for the longest time, it was all about like, well, I got to be this Rocky Edge kind of guy. And then it became, when I had stepped away from music a little bit, it became even somewhat more about even the pop side of things, like giving it a try, like writing different. Who's to say that I need to be DJ Bridwell, the 100% country all the time? I'm not George Strait. I don't look like George Strait. I don't act like George Strait. I make worse life choices than George Strait. I didn't need to go down that path. So yeah, I do write in different formats for sure. I think we're in a day where bridge is really working in places of solos, guitar solos and even musicianship in general. And I'm not faulting anybody by any means, because there's some really great, mind-blowing musicians out there. But the musicianship itself seems like for some people and some modern artists is kind of taking a back seat to the meat and taters of the song. And a lot of that is radio's fault, right? Because 3 minutes, 47 seconds is what you've got, especially if you're on my level. 3 minutes and 47 seconds, or the average commercial break, is what you get. So if you want your songs on the radio, that's what they've got to fill that spot with. So you have to paint that picture in a small amount of time. And yeah, I think fitting the formats to be able to paint that, I guess if that answers your question at all. So
yeah, it does. I'm wondering, with that kind of being, I don't want to say if it's the industry standard, but that 3 minutes and 47 seconds, what kind of tips and tricks have you used in your songwriting that has helped you kind of keep that margin of time kind of under control? Like, what do you do to kind of prevent yourself from writing a 5 minute lead guitar lick?
Yeah, and I get into that a lot too, because like of all the talent that like we've seen pass through here with our acoustic sessions and stuff too. I mean, I find myself sitting back and I want to help all these guys. Like that's my end goal of doing those kind of things. But one of the tips that I use is metaphors. So instead of explaining something in full detail, and I wish there was an example I could think of at the top of my head, but instead of like, we got in the car, we filled it with gas, we drove halfway to Texas. It's just, we went to Texas. We were halfway to Texas. And it's very cut and, right to the point. But I try to find metaphors and stuff like that kind of fit in and a play on words, again, referencing the Jason Miles.
They can make it more relatable sometimes, right? Rather than being so verbose.
I think that there's a ton of modern country artists too that are making those play on words. And if you go back and listen to the old stuff too, it's very verbatim. I mean, if you think of Keith Whitley, Don't Close Your Eyes, I mean, it's a poem written about that. And I started, I started in poetry when I was a kid, and painting a picture just always comes to mind. And you only have if you have 3 minutes and 47 seconds to paint that picture, you have to find a way around those words. And there's a lot of people that are like, I don't care about country radio because, Co Wetzel exists and he doesn't care about country radio. And I love Co Wetzel just as much as the rest, but Co Wetzel's one in how many millions of people that have made that far. Kojo is another one. And Kojo's went mainstream too, so it's eventually everybody's going to get to that point. Like you can have that badass attitude all you want, but ultimately at the level that you're at right now, not selling out crowds, but more worried about selling out your dining rooms and old folks' homes and arenas and VFWs and those kind of things. Take it into consideration. Try to write a song that is relatable and fits in that vibe. And if nobody knows who you are, 3 minutes and 47 seconds can get you. There's a ton of local radio artists or radio DJs that will throw you on their radio station for $0 and play your music. So when you go to play a show in that town next time, they know who you are because they've heard your song on the radio. Like if you're not known and you're not, charting or, you're not in the top 500 artists on TikTok. I mean, that's what better way than to be playing in your local farmer's ear while they're driving the tractors, get out of their tractor during harvest and want to go to town and go have a beer after work, and stumbling upon you, you know. I mean, it's the easiest way for publicity. It's the cheapest and easiest way is write a song that fits the script. Not fits the script, write whatever song you want, but just make sure it kind of fits that bill so these DJs can help you out even, you know?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you about how many revisions do your songs go through when you are writing a song? And how do you know when that particular piece is done?
So that completely is based off of emotion, and I'm a very off the cuff and put under pressure situation kind of guy. So for me, I could play a song here that I freshly wrote in the garage or anywhere throughout the house and play it 95 times and just never get a piece of it. But every time I play it, looking for what I can do, is I'm horrible about exercising my voice to the point where there's a little bit of range or anything else. And so a lot of stuff that I used to write back in the day and still could be guilty of too if you go back and look at the right. What I'm reciting through the song is very kind of monotone. And so what I look at is trying to change that vibe and become more of a vocalist through it, and drawing the emotion. So if it's, my mom always said this, you know, too, when I was singing, whether it was karaoke or whatever else it is, whatever you're singing, DJ, just make sure that you're portraying that message, that people believe it. So when you play Don't Close Your Eyes, make sure that people believe that you went through that. And it's very much the same thing. It's just it's easy to go cover a song and don't close your eyes. But when I was to sing it, if it's something I wrote, it's more like, don't close your eyes. It's easy to cover somebody's song and be able to do that, but to put it into your own words, and when you're singing to G, C, D and do that, it's tough to forget those vocal changes or easy to forget vocal changes and force yourself out of your comfort zone. So for me, lately, completion is upon happiness and comfortable. And I honestly can say with the most recent tune is the most comfortable I have been and most excited that I have been to go cut a song since 90 Mile an Hour. And that's almost 10 years ago.
So for the listeners who are also songwriters, or maybe who are interested in getting into songwriting, what would you say would be kind of a good piece of advice for them? You know, I know they say, you know, a pretty painting is good and all, and everyone loves it, but, you know, that painting doesn't happen if the painter never approaches the canvas. So in terms of about how much time you should take writing, you know, and just kind of some tips or some tricks that you did that really kind of kept you focused on writing specifically.
So for me, when I sit down with a song, like I find it very tough. If I walk away, the song never gets finished. So for me, I sit down and make sure that I've allotted myself enough time to, you know, to paint that picture. And it does. It takes, as you said, revisions, you know, to go, okay, well, that really doesn't fit. That really doesn't fit. Or this line could work really well somewhere else. And I've had so many songs that, you know, I wrote around the chorus. It's like, you know, 90 mile an hour down a 2-lane road, loaded 6 gun on the dash. When we did that, that was originally supposed to be the first verse. That's why the song starts out with that.
Yeah.
And that line just fell into the chorus. And then, of course, I just wrote 2 verses around what I was going through in my life just a couple of years prior to that. 100% true stories. So lead with your heart first and foremost. Think of a synopsis of a book. You know, when you're reading the back page or whatever else it is, you got to start, middle, and finish. So like little boy, you know, turned 3 and he died when he was 80. What happened in between, and how can you explain that in 30 minutes or, you know, in 3 minutes, you know, and highlight those achievements or whatever else it was. I mean, find a start, find an end, condense everything in the middle. But use your heart. I mean, I have a song that nobody ever listens to. It's my lowest streaming song still to this day, and I wrote it about my grandma. It's called Better Mamas, but the hook line is Jesus had a place for better mamas. And it's literally just about my grandma got cancer or whatever else, but it was about when there was this little boy, and his mom had gotten in a car accident, and the police officer showed up to his house basically and just said that his mom had passed away. Well, then fast forward, say 30, 40 years, this little boy is now a police officer, and somebody else's mom had passed away from cancer, and he had to go tell that story, but he remembered this place when he got told that story.
Yeah.
You know, Jesus had a place for better mamas. He knew we could make it on our own, kind of thing. And then it follows out with, my grandma essentially passing away, and I recall this little voice say, Jesus had a place for better mamas. It was just kind of a play on words. But yeah, lead with your heart, find the meat and taters of the story that you're trying to do, and don't overthink it. Because when you do that, you can go back and condense words. Write your 5-minute song, write your 10-minute song if you got to. But go back and try to condense that to getting to the meaning of that song without expanding it to some Pink Floyd song or anything off of the Black Album by Metallica. It's not.
Yeah. So I guess you would say write and just keep writing. Don't stop.
Yeah.
And then go back and look at what you've written and build.
And find yourself getting comfortable with what you're building on. And when you're doing that, you're already creating the next song too. Because when you're listening to the way that you're changing things up and advancing your own self, instead, don't just go in there with G, C, and D. And like with me, I'll move a capo. I play a full step down, which ironically, both the songs that I had tonight, I played a full step up because I didn't realize the guitar was in a different tuning. So you're welcome for that. But I play a full step down, so I move the capo all the way around with my limited progressions, because I'm not an extremely talented musician by any means. When it comes to guitar and stuff like that, I'm very simple-minded. So moving the capo around helps me find that range. And then
I too own a capo.
Yeah. I own plenty of them, but yeah, it's
that's what your band is for, right? That's what the backing is.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just need that to kind of accompany yourself, right?
I think I don't know what to do with my hands right now.
Yeah, you could just tell your bass players looking at you like, did he just grab a capo?
Fortunately, my capo typically stays in the same spot.
Yeah.
I just didn't realize that was in standard tuning. So everything you got tonight, I was like, man, this sounds way different. Am I nervous or something? And I get done with the second song, and I'm like, I'm looking down. I'm like, oh, this is in standard tuning.
I thought that was a little high. Yeah. So let me ask you this. Overcoming challenges when it comes to songwriting, one of the most common ones, writer's block. How do you kind of break down writer's block?
Writer's block has been a tough thing for me. I went through periods of my life where I wasn't truly inspired enough to write outside of that. And I would call that my version of writer's block, but it just wasn't that I just didn't have any life-changing events that to me were worth writing about. And I ran out of old things to talk about because I found myself in like even the current position I'm in now, where it's just like I'm happy with my life. I like the way things are going. So it's in order for me to write, being that ballad writer and stuff, I have to put myself back into character where I was in those deep, dark places of my life, or something similar to it in order to find that. So whatever you're inspired by when it comes to writer's block, make sure that you're making those kind of moments happen in your life. Now, I don't recommend that if you're a ballad or a breakup writer like I am, because constantly putting yourself in positions of writing songs can cost you a lot more than just not having a new song. But just constantly put yourself in a position, not constantly, but find relatable items to what you like to write about. We joke all the time with like Dylan Bloom, if you're familiar with Tim Zock, Luke Mills, and myself. Well, we've played plenty of shows together in the last couple of years, and we always make the joke, Dylan writes about small towns, I write about breakup, Luke's writes about his wife, and Tim writes about drinking beer. The things that we love to do, they're all four relatable, all four inspiring, and that's just, if you go back and listen to our catalog of music, I nailed that spot on, by the way.
They're like a hell of a band, actually. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Very broad.
So let me ask you, when you said earlier, this will probably be the last question, I promise. When you said earlier, kind of like don't overcomplicate things when it comes to the songwriting process. What are some common things that you think songwriters are doing that is overcomplicating, and I guess how do you prevent overcomplication?
Once again, getting to the point. I find that most. It's like when you sit down with some of the stuff, and I've got some Anthony, for instance. Nothing that he was doing was overcomplicating by any means, but him and I are on a level of closeness. I feel, if I'm wrong, text me later, Anthony. But before he went to Texas to record his last single and stuff, he had sent me his song, and just like going through it, listening to it, finding his inspirations between it. I think there was just almost there's better ways to try to get to the point and stuff. It was a very well written song, but those were like minimal deals. Then I have other artists that I've been in with, which is not a big deal. It's just about coaching, in a little bit. But do not say that if I'm going on vacation that I woke up one morning, grabbed my suitcase, walked to the dresser, packed my suitcase, walked the door, closed the door behind me, got in the car, got on the plane, went to the wherever. You just, got up in the morning, packed up, and he's gone. Like, get to the point, and that is and I think that there's other words that you can tag back to that. I don't have a specific song in reference, but there's other words that you can tag back to that to paint that picture without you saying all of those things. And metaphorically, speaking metaphors or play on words, that's a huge deal in my process, but that's the biggest way. I don't really run a songwriting clinic by any means, but those would be my pointers that if I was to do that. So.
Okay. Well, Tom, do you have any questions? 'Cause I'm gonna look back at my list. I know that I have like 20 of them over here. So
You have 22 as well, too. So, well, let me transition us from the songwriting piece itself to the actual performances. Did I read somewhere that you've played over 700 shows?
Oh, way over that. Yeah, you got old material.
I have old materials way over that. What is it now?
13 years, over 1,200 shows.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
that's a lot of shows, man.
You didn't have a whole lot of information on those particulars, but thank you for validating that. But so over 1,200 shows. So you've had an opportunity to share some of your original material to a room full of strangers or to a venue that no one knows who you are. You don't know them. Can you talk about that experience, about sharing, whether it be a brand new song, I'm going to roll out this new song, the band's going to play it, or you're going to play it, and maybe you could share some of the experiences or some of the comments that you remember, whether they're favorable or it's like I almost could relate to it, but it would have been a better song if. Can you speak to that?
So I never really had a whole lot of, and this isn't because they probably weren't thinking of it. I mean, if they were at the concert, if they didn't like it, I never had a whole lot of like haters that would come up and just tell me that they didn't really care for the songs. I appreciate that, and in a sense too. The high of playing your own song on stage when people do know it, the 90 mile an hour of our group, or the first song we ever had on country radio was called 5 O'Clock. It was the first song one of the first songs I had ever recorded, and it was one of the first songs that was getting sang back to us, on the smaller stages and that kind of thing. 90 was definitely a turning point in our career, and that was one that got sang back to us. It got requested. It got everything else. But to be honest with you, so and she's heard this story a million times, but there's two different DJs, DJ Bridwells, if you will. There's DJ Bridwell that's on stage, and there's the DJ Bridwell that for the first year of the band existed, and everything before that is I have huge stage fright. I don't like crowds, it's not that I don't like the crowd. I'm not big on being close to a bunch of other people, and So the fact that I chose what I did as a career, and I've been in sales for 20 years on top of that, it just, it's always been a challenge. So as far as walking off the stage and people giving props to the song and stuff, I've always dealt with it a little bit differently. Like if you're telling me, hey, that's a great song, I'm going to give you, hey, thanks so much, man. And then that's pretty much the end of the conversation. I don't want to push about it, anything like that. I don't really want to, like, anything beyond that to me kind of seems a little bit egotistical, and I don't want to, harp on that. Like, oh yeah, what'd you really like about that song? Tell me, I'm just not that kind of person that draws that out.
That's very cool, man. And of course now the next question is going to lead right into the creation of your Songwriters Festival, because you're drawing a number of aspiring songwriters who are just looking for guidance, I would imagine, or a break of some sort. And I'm going to guess you're the primary organizer, I think is what I saw your title as, or maybe you're the man himself. But ironic though, isn't it? I mean, you're actually trying to bring along these songwriters. Maybe you're giving them input, the same type of input that you were kind of like shying away from. Are you stepping out of this shyness with a responsibility like that?
Do as I say, not as I do, kind of thing, a little bit, I guess, when it comes to that. But just to tag a little bit of leading into the Songwriter Fest, when I retired, semi-retired, however you want to look at it, 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago from the band, I just lost the love for music. We were at that stage. It's really awkward, and that's what in turn creates this. But we were at this stage where we were too big to go. When I say too big, I mean that financially we were required to bring in so much money to pay all the people that we needed to pay, including, percentage to even our record label. So we were too big to go play those old small town bars that treated us like gold, even though we did make sacrifices and do that when we could. And we were too small that when we went out and played these big main stage events and stuff, opening up for the likes of Casey Donahue, Riley Green, and some of these other bigger acts, Parmalee, we would ultimately get treated like garbage, and that ultimately is kind of what started just the downfall of my love for what I was doing. And I used to play my guitar every single day, and now there's months at a time where I'll go and I won't even pick it up, and I don't sing. And then all of a sudden I'll have a show on a Saturday night that I've known about for 3 months. And finally Friday night, I'm like, yeah, I should probably pick that up and practice. And the ultimate decision-making deal for my retirement was, this is how much I lost the love for it, was I was outside. We had sound check an hour and a half away, in a town an hour and 10 minutes away. I was an hour and a half away from sound check, and I was still out back, right out that back door right here, grilling burgers in my shorts, and hadn't changed, not even to get on the road. And I thought, well, how do I charge people to go out and watch my concert, spend their money, or even if it's a town festival, which it was that night, how do I expect a town festival to pay me full price when I'm giving them a half-assed product and not caring about what I was doing? And I did care when I'm on stage, because that DJ Bridwell that's on stage is different than the guy that was here. But that guy lost the love, therefore the other guy did too. So going into the retirement, when I retired, my number one goal that I set the very instant that I walked away from the stage was that I wanted to help young artists achieve bigger and better results faster, so they didn't get the burnout like what we did.
DJ, in my musical journey, I will say this, is that when COVID hit, I had already been playing in my band for 12 years. And the idea of having heard the band together, to schedule the rehearsals, to try and find gigs, to compete with the other musicians and bands that are out there, and all the egos. We hit the brakes in 2020. And it's kind of like, you know what? I kind of like this peace and quiet. I kind of like just doing some writing, or just sitting and playing things on my guitar that I never really played before, or learning new things. That part of my brain is kind of like, I want to pursue this. I want to learn. I want to grow, but I also want to teach others, which is why I went to Guitars for Vets for 3 years and taught how to play guitar. And I'm still doing that today with another organization. But the burnout is real. It's like, if you hit the ground running and you keep going and you keep at it, and it's the thing that's highest priority in your mind, at some point in time, it's going to be, I just don't feel like doing this. And it's not because of music, it's just the repetition and the stress that comes with it. It's totally understandable, but I will say this: it was nice to see your new song out there after reading that you had retired from music. So, you're still touching it. You're still touching music in ways that you want to, right?
Yeah, I've released, I think, since I retired, I think 4 songs. And then, of course, this one is a new write, not recorded or anything else. But yeah, and I always said that I was still going to write and release. It wasn't about that. It was just the pressure of being everything that was, and still continuing. It got to the point where if I'm not enjoying my time on stage and not giving people what they're worth, then why am I going out there trying to entertain these people when I have a family at home that is begging for my attention and wants to be entertained too? The kids, and there was a lot that I missed, with my daughter even, and my son, and like just the amount of years that you put into that, the weekends that you're gone, the things that you miss. And I don't know, I felt like I kind of happened to catch it at the right time to readjust my life, if you will.
Is it kind of like one of those, you're doing something that you love, but when what you're doing starts to feel like it's overwhelming or becomes a chore, you start to kind of lose that love, and you're like, you know what? If this is what was causing that separation between me and my music, kind of get back to the loving the music, the reason you do,
Yeah, it was crazy. After I got out of it too, I just wasn't going to be done, but I was done, and I wasn't going to be done, but I'm done. And then that first year, like Alex and I have talked, I played more. So that last year before I retired, I think I played like 35 some shows, and that was acoustic and full band. And the following year after that, right after I announced my retirement, I started right back up in October and went to Deadwood to their Songwriter Festival up there a month after I'd retired. And I ended up playing like 57 or 58 shows that year after I retired. Now this past year, I can say for the most part, I think I'm retired. I played maybe 10 shows, but
Are these solo shows?
yeah, a lot of them were. We did do a couple full band shows when we came back, that following year. That wasn't being included in that 50 something. And then this past year, we really haven't done much. I mean, I go out and play some benefits and charities or something like that. We've done some CASA events. We've done some, of course, veteran events. And yeah, if I want to do it, I want to do it on my own accord, and what I want to do it for. It has to make sense.
That's what I discovered as well too. It's like, what? Here we are 6 years after we basically called it quits, and we've come together maybe a couple of times, my full band and I, but there are other things of interest that caught my attention and I just thought teaching music, guitar to veterans, which I want to ask you about because I know your work with veterans is extensive, but I found that this is my new path. And I accepted that. And I think that the guys in my band are kind of like, well, we're here if you still, want to get together. And that'll be in a couple of weeks when we line up our new bass player. But let's talk a little bit about you and your journey with veterans and helping them on their way as well too. Is that really what you started Trails of Tales with the veteran in mind, the veteran singer-songwriter in mind, or is this something different?
No, that the Trails of Tales is kind of unrelated to that. Previous to that, it would have been not during COVID, but kind of on the closing, like on the house of COVID. I really looked for a way to just try to market myself essentially, but then we had just gotten signed to the label. I was looking for those branded things that want to do that. And we had a local brewery, and I always thought, well, how cool would it be? And I don't even, it's wild because I don't even really drink beer. But
wait, you asked for beer for payment for your first gig. What are you talking about?
back then I drank beer. Okay. And I was more concerned about the guys in the band.
I digress. Sorry.
But we, and Matt, I'm sure you've probably heard of them out of Ohio, Lazy Horse Brewing. They have their most popular one was the salted caramel and the Nebraska light beers.
Yeah.
So I went into them. I had a meeting with them, and of course it's a veteran-owned establishment as well. And Jim Stutzman is like one of the best guys that I've ever met. And in ties with that, he set up a meeting and had Steve Hogan there, which is Hunter H.D. Hogan's father, who both are vets. Hunter was KIA. And they had started a scholarship under the H.D. Hogan Foundation, and then it ended up turning into a whole bunch of different things where they're giving back to different organizations and different things and providing different things for different families, whether it's Gold Star families and whatnot. And that was where kind of our portion of everything went to. So long story short, we ended up producing quite a few pallets of beers, and then we did a merch line together. That was a DJ Bridwell band, or DJ Bridwell marketed beer on the back of it. But it's a DJ Bridwell marketed can, basically just told the story on the backside of everything that we want to donate 100% of our proceeds, whether that be through the brewery and then through what we were doing going back towards the Gold Star families, or which would be the H.D. Hogan Foundation. And it was just it was an entire, I think maybe 2 years basically that the whole thing went on. I'll show you the can here. Thank you so much for grabbing that. But yeah, collaboration is what it shows on there, and then what this guy says. But before I turn it around, I'll read it to you. A partnership dedicated to honoring our veterans and their family sacrifices as much as 100% of the proceeds from this collaboration will go to organizations solely focused on mental health and well-being of the U.S. veterans and States militaries. So
awesome.
It was we sold pallets of that stuff, and it worked out really well. We couldn't sell it at our shows, of course, but we had a lot of venues and stuff that would get order the beer ahead of time and have it there as like, they're $2 or $3 beers when you walk in, or get a free beer or whatever it was.
That's major to have your name on a can like that.
That's a keepsake for sure.
Oh my goodness. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about some of the work that you've done with veterans that we need to know about?
I think that was by far my biggest accomplishment. We've played probably 100 shows under our belts just for, veterans, mental health and well-being, and basically also solely focused on that. Actually, my original idea, was to kind of give back with the beer, was to kind of give back to like 22 a day and all that kind of stuff. But I found out how, in my personal opinion, from what I've heard anyway, they filter their money a little bit different. It's not directly back towards where I feel it needs to be, and this one was the fitting purpose behind that. But other than that, man, I mean, I think that was by far my biggest accomplishment. Every other musician out there has done the same thing as me, as far as I feel they've donated their time to fundraisers and different things. But these guys have ultimately became a family, for us, and blooming and blossoming their relationship with Hero Stock and what we got going on now too.
Yeah, we appreciate that. The stuff that you're doing. I know with Trails of Tales, with that partnership with Jason, knowing what really the mission is there and how it ties into what we're doing with Hero Stock. Really looking forward to seeing what you guys have got planned. I do want to ask you right now if you've got time for another song. You said that you thought you might have something queued up in your mind. Maybe
now that I know my guitars and standard tuning.
Oh yeah, well, standard tuning's overrated.
Yeah, I want to make sure that I still knew how to play that. I haven't played this in a couple of years, but Yeah, this was one that goes out to the songwriters. It's a deep, dark spot. Probably the darkest I've ever been in my life. So, called Barstool Whiskey.
All right.
You sure got some nerve walking in this place. It's taking every bottle on the shelf just to help forget your face. And this bar stool, it's the only thing that holds me anymore. But even it gets shaky. Well, after 3 or 4, you've taken everything I've had, all that's left of me. And chances are you'll always have the best of me. So you can have a choice between the bar stool or the whiskey. I remember times, girl, but it's been a while. I'd have paid $1 million just to frame that pretty smile. But you can't go on forever in the darkest of the days. So I'll just sit right here and drink away your face. You've taken everything I've had, all that's left of me. And chances are you'll always have the best of me. So you can have a choice between the bar stool or the whiskey. Taking everything I've had, all that's left of me. And chances are you'll always have the best of me. So you can have a choice. Yeah, you can have a choice between the bar stool or the whiskey.
That was excellent, man.
Hey, thank you.
That's the stuff I love to play. That chord transition there. I love those chords, brother.
Yeah, me too.
I know that. Well, your influence, Keith Whitley. We're talking like 70s, 80s, right? Country, and it's at a time when a lot of crossover artists, a lot of this country rock stuff was coming out, and this is true. I mean, to me, it's really easy to associate your music as country rock. And you had mentioned in an interview that I think I caught a glimpse of that that you started off doing rock and then you went on to country. Can you tell us a little bit about the decision to consciously do that? Because your songs are feeling like they can touch on both genres.
I think that, yeah, I don't think there's any walls between the genres anymore, but in starting out where I did, when I was 18, I picked up some drumsticks and was living with a guitar player at the time. And yeah, I mean, he kind of taught me the basics, and then within a few months after that, I kind of messed around with a like Pearl Jam tribute band, which is really dumb because I do not like Pearl Jam at all, to be honest with you. Still to this day, I think there are songs and with all due respect to musicianship, I'm just not a huge fan. It never was.
Yeah.
And,
Is it music that you couldn't really relate to? I mean, that was my case. It was,
I don't understand what he's saying first and foremost. So, yeah,
that's understandable. I get it.
no excuse either because I'm a huge Lamb of God fan when it comes down.
Yeah, come on. I'll allow it. You don't like Pearl Jam, I allow it. But yeah.
But you're showing your age, man. Come
Yeah.
on.
Right before my 21st birthday, I think I was 20. We'd practiced. We put a band together called Sidetracked, and actually, so my active inactive drummer, who's been with me for the last like 2 years, was actually in that band as the drummer. I had switched roles and went to playing bass, and then the guitar player that I lived with that played, kind of taught me drums a little bit and whatever. He was our lead guitar player, and then the drummer's brother was our rhythm guitar player and pretty much full-time vocalist. We played one show, and my roommate, he had stage fright a little bit, and I don't think he was ultimately comfortable with just being up there. So we played the one show and we were done. Full practice for a year. Like everything was just like on point. Never played a show. We went to one show, and then that happened, and we all kind of disbanded. I shortly after there moved, and I was still playing a lot of rock, but like Daughtry rock and that kind of thing. But it was all bass guitar, and it was only so long before I'm like, man, this thing sucks to sing along with or play along with. I bought an acoustic guitar and started teaching myself chords, and I don't know how to read music, so I completely learned by ear. Then eventually finally got my ear to go, well, yeah, that's what you're doing right there. So that's a G chord. Oh, okay. I can recognize a few things like that, but no, that was my start in rock, and pretty much my entire career was wrapped up in 2 different bands with about 3 shows. So yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
thank God for lead sheets, huh?
Yeah.
When you can't read sheet music, thank you God for lead sheets.
Was YouTube a thing yet? YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube was a thing basically right as I was starting in that like 2000. I want to say by the time I started playing guitars, there was a lot of guitar tutorials and stuff. But I remember one of the biggest ones being I think it was Guitar World magazine or whatever, reading the tablature out of there. That was all rock music, It doesn't teach you chords. It doesn't teach you anything. It just teaches you where to put your fingers for certain things.
Yeah.
But it worked, and here I am. So
Musical alphabet? Who needs it? Who cares? I don't. Yeah, that's too much theory for me.
Yeah. Don't get time started on theory, bud. I tell you what.
yeah.
He sat in one of my courses, so.
I've got
Oh yeah, go ahead.
band that are that way. They're very music theory and all of that stuff, and so they look at me and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's a 1/4 something," and I'm like, "No, it's a D, C, and D is what it is."
Well, I'll tell you, with my band, it's basically they're doing all the talking, and I have to just kind of absorb this to see what it is they're talking about. So I've got you fooled, Matt. Sorry.
Yeah, they say, what key are you playing in? You're like, whatever capo 3 is, It's a G shape in
It's in the key
capo
of
3.
H, I think. H, does that sound familiar?
Yeah. The G shape on a capo 3 when I'm tuned to full step down.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Hey, let me just say this, that the music that you've shared with us is very tasty. Very tasty. And it's stuff that I could easily say that I've grown up with because I grew up with 70s singer-songwriters. And it seems to me that the music would fit really well in Deadwood. I mean, to me, it's kind of like, is that the vibe that you're going for? These acoustic, solo storytelling. I mean, yours fits the mold for that. Am I close?
No particular vibe that I originally did that, but kind of getting into that, with Dylan Bloom and I had made a trip up there that October, and when we did that and went to Deadwood, they have the existing Songwriter Fest that had been up there for the last, I think at that point, it had been like 10 years, the Wild West Songwriter Fest, and we'd met. You guys have had Drew Phillips on here, is that correct? Have you had Drew Phillips on here yet?
No, he's on the list.
So Drew I actually met him that year, and he's from here in Nebraska, but I actually, Dylan and I both met him in Deadwood, and then we were playing a show up there and invited him over to our show, and he got up and sang a couple, and he's like, oh, you guys want it back? And we're like, dude, keep going. All right. So became friends with him, and then I came back, and I was sitting with Alex in the garage one night, and I was like, I got this wild idea, which is pretty common, to be honest with you. I mean, I do that pretty much daily, waking up. But it's like I got this wild idea that I just want to start a Songwriter Fest and have it in Deadwood, just like the other one, And the difference was, when ours going into year one is, I think that the biggest difference it wasn't necessarily that I meant it to be that way originally, but theirs is a competition. And competition is great. I mean, I think that it makes you better even in most cases. Ours is more community driven, and there's a lot of stories we can touch on about that. But no, ultimately, I never had a goal with the songs that I write about fitting in anywhere in Deadwood, anything necessarily other than just what they mean to me and portraying it to the crowd that follows me, that knows that I sing from the heart. I write from the heart and go from there. But yeah, as far as the Deadwood vibe, it's all over. I mean, it's awesome.
Since I've never been there, I would be curious, what would I expect to see when I go to the Songwriters Festival?
A full great weekend of music. Our Songwriter Fest, the Trails of Tales, Dean, Alex, and I work our tails off to ensure that we get the most community vibe, the close, tight-knit stuff. So when you walk into ours, this is what you're going to see. Our first venue, our home venue, the Nugget, there's only 2 chairs in there. It's one of the smallest venues that we got, but it is usually the most packed. And that's our home stage, if you will. So we strategically plan a lot of things around that stage. But when you walk in, there's 2 people on stage throughout the day, all day, and all into the night. And there is a crowd full of musicians that are standing out in front of them, supporting them, along with the locals. So when you walk into the other, it's very quiet, and I respect that because they want people to listen to their songwriters. That's what they're there for. The one thing on our side is our musicians are out, talking, and you know what? If it proves one thing, that if you've got the crowd quiet at any point throughout the entire day, clear up until 2:00 in the morning, your song is engaging as hell because you just got the whole 200 people in the bar or whatever else it is to be able to get quiet as a church mouse, and engaged over your song. And I think that teaches also songwriters and performers a lot about dynamics and stuff like that, stuff that makes that crowd engage. And even if they're not the one playing the song, they're going, yeah, I need that, that kind of vibe. And then the next time they go and write a song and they're doing something, they're thinking about those kind of things. Like, how do I engage that crowd the way that so-and-so did when we were, there and the whole place went silent?
When I think of a music festival, I think of like Coachella or Lollapalooza. This is definitely not that. This is more focused really on the storytelling, the ability to give the artist space to really to shine, and the community that is there to watch is participating as well too by just listening and giving them the kudos that they deserve is what that sounds like.
Yeah. So first and foremost, this is hopefully one of many shout outs that we give DSP, Dean Schaefer Productions, who does all of it. He joined us the first year.
And Hero Stock too. So
yeah.
That's a name that I'm familiar with. And we will have you on the show, Dean, I promise. Just talk
there you go. Yeah, Alex suggested earlier, she's like, why don't you get Dean in there on a 3-way call? Gosh, probably a little late for that, but
one of these days, hey, it'll be episode 39. But yeah, there are a lot of people that are obviously involved, and I've seen interviews where you have actually called them out, and Dean was definitely someone that he makes Hero Stock successful as well too. It's great to see that he's involved with that. Who else is involved?
Well, she's sitting over here, dead silent in her chair over here. But Alex, she does all of our graphic design. Are you gonna
Oh, cool.
get?
Come on, put your face in the camera.
Hi,
Stop
Alex.
being weird.
Or just tell us where we can find your work so we can go ahead and give you thumbs
Yeah,
up.
literally anything TOT that you see. So anything from our videos that are our Trails to Tales acoustic sessions, any of the video that is shot when we were up there. So I do the editing side of it. So anything that looks really crappy there, that's my fault. She shoots all the videos. She does all of our graphic design for all of our posters. We have artist placards that kind of explain, what their names and our sponsors, and then they've got their Venmo deals, so they're always in front of them. And then on top of that, when she's in Deadwood, she does all of the check-in process, all of the lineup process for each stage, moving things back and forth. And then, of course, then there's me taking the day off usually, which I hope off, to be honest with you, because we've ran it 2 years and we're kind of, all three of us are looking at opportunities to expand it enough that we can get enough help that us three of us can just kind of step back and not micromanage anything, but just like more make sure everything's flowing fine, but have other people in our positions to kind of help move that along a little bit better. It moves smoothly as it is, but not without a lot of strain and stress. It's going to be something to tackle this year. So we go up there in March, and I heard Caleb talking about it last year, and it's crazy how good he is with the numbers or last week, sorry.
He's a businessman.
Yeah, he called out 84, and I think 84 is, if we get the venues that we want, we'll know next month. If we get the venues that we want, we'll move up to 84 artists is what we can house, and there'll be some give and take. It'll probably be more like along the lines of 90 artists. We are at a spot where we do have to vet a little bit. I would love, but we just don't have the venues and or the capabilities of doing it on year 3 to. Like, we kind of outkicked our coverage, I guess, as the old saying goes, when it comes to how many people we can house up there and do that. But our intentions are to get there eventually, and if it's not just there, it's through others. We want to move this to, we talked about Ozarks, Panama City, or not Panama City, I'm sorry, Destin, Key West, those kind of areas, spreading along and having a similar festival, say 4 times a year in 4 different, once a year in 4 different locations.
That's awesome. Now, this is year 3.
This we just got done with year 2 in October. Year 3 will be this coming October. Yeah. So we went from Caleb knows it better than I do probably, but we did from 20 artists our first year, had 67 performances over 3 days, and then this year we had 38 artists and did upwards of like 260 different performances in 3 days. So we, quadrupled our performances, only doubled our artists, and then we doubled our venues. So looking at the 84, if we end up having 84 to 90 artists somewhere in that area, the kind of what I got targeted out, and that's, I guess, my strong side. I mean, Alex doing all the graphics and Dean doing everything else. I do all the scheduling and line everything out to make sure everything's fair and message everybody. I know he mentioned that I'm a really good communicator and that I'm really all about communication. That's not the case. I just do it because I know that it's not going to get done if I don't do it. So,
why is this all sounding like Jason's in my conversation with him? It's I think I met him like 3 years ago, and it's like we're having this as you say it, it's kind of like, oh, he's got some logistical challenges with all of these people and all these stages, but you've got a great team.
If you look at 20 artists and 67 performances, 38 artists and 260, it's safe to say that over the course of a 3-day period, with 84 artists, it will be close to 1,000 performances in a 3-day period in little old things.
How is the local community responding to what it is that you're doing? Are they all in and they'll help you support your events and such, or what feedback are you hearing from them?
So we hear great feedback. It was a little touch and go the first year, of course, because the other Songwriter Festival, and I can understand that too. Our purpose wasn't going in there and trying to take it out. We want to work hand in hand with the other one. There's plenty of room for all of us. I mean, if you look at it across town, there's still, even after 2 music festivals or music songwriter festivals, there's still empty venues. And I don't mean empty as in like no patrons. I mean they don't have music going on during that same time frame, and they have we say thousands of people that come to town that weekend for one reason only, and that's to listen to whether it's a Wild West Songwriter Fest artist or whether it's the Trails of Tales Songwriter Fest, or both, and we welcome both. I really think that the town itself has been really receptive to it. Obviously, allowing us to get a couple more venues this last year, and then of course, looking forward, hopefully we can get even more. But our main goal is just to get these artists in a place that they've never played before, in front of people that never heard them before, and even if they have, we've had. I know Alex has had people messaging her, like, "Do you have the dates for year 3 yet? We've been there both years, and we want to come back for year 3." That's what it's about. But more importantly, the community of the artists. So we have a Snapchat. I'm a Snapchatter guy. We have a Snapchat page between all of the people that have come up there, and we allow people, like, I tell them, we're going to add you to the Snapchat group, but feel free to mute your notifications because people in here can get a little chatty. And anybody that's watching this that's been up there knows exactly what I'm talking about. We'll have people just leave the page, which is understandable. But the others, they pass gigs along. They're like, "Hey, you're an idiot. By the way, do you want to come open up for me on Friday?" Or if you can see, I'm back there on the. It's really tough to read, but Drew Phillips is a bad guy. Yeah. Both of them. Yeah, they make these stupid little things about each other and pass them around, and I think it's hilarious. But and they had that before, the Songwriter Festival. But that's the kind of stuff that Antic.
Very cool. Yeah.
People that were complete strangers before are now best friends and Snapchatting each other halfway across the United States and passing along gigs to each other and giving each other pointers and sending out new original material and getting receptive, feedback from the other artists that are in that group. And I mean, ultimately for me, that's what it's about.
Okay, so let me ask you this: we've talked about what to expect. How does someone, just kind of break it down for me? How would I get a seat at one of those venues? What would I have to do as a songwriter?
The only thing that we ask, really, it's especially in this part of the year, it is extremely simple. Before we had chairs to fill. This year it's the opposite. We have not enough chairs, and we don't see ourselves growing quite to that 120 mark. I'm going to continue to accept all the way through the remainder, up until I start doing the lineup, probably through July. I'm going to continue to accept people. You find out when you've got that many chairs to fill, there's a lot of people that got a last minute wedding. They have this, that, and the other that all come up. The only thing that we ask right now is just if you're an artist and you're interested in going to the Trails of Tales 2026, just go follow our page, email our email, and you don't even have to give us some extensive deal. We'll worry about that as we get a little bit closer. But right now, just send us an email and say, "Hey, I'm interested in 2026." And I'm a notes guy, so I have a book at the store where I work, and I go through it every single day. And I write down whether it's in the email, whether it was on our messenger, whether it was a text message, whether it was a Snapchat, whether it was whatever it is. And write down what the date it was, where it's from, and who the contact is, what their number is, or whatever else. So that way when it comes time for selections and stuff, I've got you. But if you're interested in getting a seat, just message us. And have some credentials, maybe win some awards. No, I'm just kidding, Matt.
Oh, no problem there. He has won awards.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Let me brag for him because he won't do it for himself.
Don't toot my horn. I don't even toot my own horn. So, now would there be like requirements for anybody who goes and does what you just said there to enter? Is there a requirement for like a sizzle reel? Do they need to send any of their music your way initially at first, or?
There isn't. If you want to get ahead of the game, there's a few things that we require in order to just kind of ease things along, things that we need, and that is it's going to be like your current photo kind of thing. If you're wanting to just speed the process, I can't guarantee selection based off of what we've got right now, but no, nothing really necessary. But if you want to get ahead of the game, go ahead. Send us a YouTube version or your Spotify links or whatever it may is. I don't necessarily need a raw version. I can tell when stuff's been melodined or auto-tuned, if you will, and whatever else. But
He knows the secrets.
yeah, I don't necessarily need a raw version, but I mean, just any sort of EPK kind of thing. It's not a big deal. It's more, like I said, it's about friendship and camaraderie and community than it is about, oh, this is the next American Idol, you know?
Yeah, no, I could die without any fame at all, and I would be happier than a pig in shit.
Yeah.
But just like I always want to challenge myself. I want to step outside my comfort zone and accept that the other side of the coin isn't tarnished. Maybe I can do something like that.
Have you played a Songwriter Fest yet?
One.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went over and I did a Songwriter Festival at Southern Style Fremont.
Oh, yeah, in December.
Yep. So I was there, I want to say it was December 14th?
December 12th, 13th, and 14th, yep.
Yep. Yeah, so it was pretty cool, and I mean, initially I get there, I'm nervous, but I'm at a point now where I'm getting comfortable being uncomfortable. So I want to keep pursuing like the next uncomfortable thing and be like, I want to try that.
Do you live in Beatrice? Is that where you live?
Yeah.
Do you? All right, I'll make you a deal. I'm going to buy some shoes from a guy that is over in Beatrice. I need you to pick up those shoes, bring them over here. We'll do a Trails of Tales acoustic sessions with you over here. So it's like a 2-for-1 deal.
With the shoes on.
If you promise me that you're going to have a good time or have a drinky with me, one of the two, while we're shooting or after we're done shooting, I'll just go ahead and give you a golden ticket. You come up there with us.
Oh, no. Good. That I absolutely don't want. I want to earn it,
Oh. Let me just edit this portion out of our interview.
Yeah.
Well, that's very cool. So now on the flip side of that, let me ask you as a spectator, someone who's like going to Deadwood and they want to check this out because you're obviously bringing these visitors into town and they want to check out the music. What advice do you have to them? It's in October, right? It's in October. So like what do they expect in the way of booking travel and hotels? Or are there places that's a lot of people that show up, and maybe you can kind of give them some heads up on things.
Yeah, the first and foremost heads up is you're going to want to get your rooms early because between the popularity of the entire scene up there has grown enough that it gets tough even for some of our artists to find rooms, in enough advance. So that's why this year I think we're going to try to focus on getting the lineup a little bit sooner. So that way we don't fight that kind of issue. Is the last thing that we want is everybody there having a good time and getting in trouble for going somewhere that they shouldn't be or doing whatever else. But as far as what to expect and what to do, first off, when you pull into Deadwood, get yourself checked in your hotel, come downtown. Our merch booth is most likely going to be in the Eagle. Get yourself some Trails of Tales gear and check out the hot merch girl. When you do that, do not touch, take pictures if you want, but then tag me in them. No, and then grab yourself a schedule and find yourself, some of the artists that you're familiar with or just want to listen to, go check out. If you're not familiar with any of them, just pick a random bout. We have, at any point like this last year, we had 14 chairs going at once. So, if you don't have to stay even for the whole show, but if you're watching and walking in between the the venues themselves, pick somebody that you like, go find somebody else. I mean, it's constant music going the entire day, and it's in rotations to where there is music going at all times. And like when Dean is going in between venues, he has 5-minute windows, 4 venues. So if the first venue starts at 1 o'clock, the second one starts at 1:05, the third one starts at 1:10, next one starts at 1:15, and he has to be in all 4 places doing sound check for 14 different people in that 20-minute window.
Hence the reason for the new shoes, right?
The new shoes.
That guy's running all over the place. All right, what a couple of hours we've spent here talking about some great stuff. Your musical career. your ways of approaching and delivering songs, from the heart, helping veterans kind of, along because, they appreciate your help. I know I get nothing but praise from the veterans that I get to teach guitar to. And it's wonderful to be able to help them along. And also the Songwriters Festival. It's all sounded just wonderful. And thank you for sharing. Maybe you can tell our audience where to find more information if it's online or who they can email, not only for your music, but also for what's happening over at the Trails of Tales Songwriters Festival in October.
Sure. So a couple different ways that you can find us right now. Trails of Tales Songwriter Festival on Facebook. We're dabbling into other things between the artist showcase and some future plans that we have going on. They'll probably remain untouched for now, but we may end up changing the name, just Trails of Tales, and then kind of going from there because we're dabbling in that. But for right now, you can find us at Trails of Tales Songwriter Festival on Facebook. You can email us at trailsoftalesfestival@gmail.com for any inquiries. And then we also have Trails of Tales, what used to be called the Deadwood Trails of Tales. Now is just Trails of Tales playlist on Spotify. You can go check us out there. Right now we're working. I don't know that we're going to make it. I'm honestly, because there's a dead season. Right now we're working on we're supposed to be 365 days of content to where we're doing the acoustic series or acoustic sessions. We're posting a different artist every single day, and as of today, I started dabbling into. We're just about to hit the 100th episode since we left the 2025 event. Our ultimate goal was to get clear up till next year's event, and I do think that we're going to fall short, to be quite honest with you, but there's still so much content on that page that you can go find. So,
all right, you have got your hands full. And that's not even talking about your songwriting. That's that. I don't know about you, but I have experienced overload of just having to write emails and teaching guides and just all of this stuff that takes me away from actually wanting to sit down and write. It's been years since I've written a song, which is why I don't call myself a songwriter anymore. But I do write a damn good memo. So. DJ, thank you again for sitting in with us. Do you have any closing thoughts?
No, I absolutely appreciate everything that you guys have done for us as well. This last year, Jason linking up with us, the support and sponsorship, partnership, if you will, went a long ways with ours. We give 100% back to our artist, and it may not be gratuity wise, but it's promotion wise. It's stuff that's going to their careers and. I know that you guys stand for the same thing. We're not out here trying to make a buck off of anybody else. So any contributions and stuff like that, even outside of you, if there's somebody out there that wants to reach back and, wants to donate $5 back towards the Trails of Tales, that $5, just know is going right back to our artist, our, soon to be hopefully 84 artist is going to find a piece of that somewhere along the way. And it's appreciative from the artist as well.
Looking forward to seeing more of that. And any closing thoughts, Matt?
Oh, I can't wait. Man. You guys, every time we get a chance to just get on here and talk music, talk shop, and share stories, I love it. And this is a blessing. I mean, I didn't know who you were prior to this. I feel like I know more about you now and what you're involved with and kind of where your heart is and where your head is. I'm excited for the things that you guys are creating, the things you guys are doing, and I can't wait to see more.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing, too, before I leave, my closing thought, we're working on having a veteran stage, too, this year for at least one day out of the deal to where we have veteran artists playing throughout the day. And I don't know if we have enough to do it. So however it works out, we're going to do something along those lines, and that will be of course, Hero Stock stage, which I think is ultimately fitting in the end. So I really do thank you guys for having us on here and allowing me the opportunity from myself, of course, Alex, and then Dean Schaefer from Dean Schaefer Productions as well. So
awesome. All right. Well, next week, we continue our series of interviews with performers from the Trails of Tales Songwriter Festival. It's Nathan Wade, whose original songs are a rough and rowdy collection of murder ballads, fire and brimstone gospel, and gothic country blues. Throw in some choice covers from classic country stars to modern hard rockers, and baby, you've got a stew going. Those are his words, not mine. And to our listeners, thanks for joining us. We invite you to check out some of the other conversations now streaming on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and at the YouTube channel, Hero Stock Nation. We really do enjoy bringing these stories each week to you. So for right now, thank you all for joining us for tonight's interview with DJ Bridwell. And we look forward to seeing you back next week here at the Round Table where Heroes Talk. Good night.
Just the other night, I saw some old pub downtown. Saw you looking at my girl from across the bar. Said, boy, you better back down. You crossed the line when you asked her to dance. Stop staring me down and boy, wash your hands. Lay down your drink and pay your tab, 'cause you ain't coming back. 90 mile an hour down a two-lane road, loaded six gun on the dash. A bottle of Jack, riding shotgun, so there ain't no coming back. See, I told you once that she's mine, and this old boy ain't afraid of doing time. If you hit your brakes, son, we're gonna play. So dog ain't barking, it's biting today. Just the other day, caught you running out the back door trying to get away. What you doing with my girl and my kids in the house? Boy, you better run north, 'cause it's about to go south. Headlights aiming down that old black top, 33's just slinging rocks. Don't worry, son, I'll cut you some slack. I'm gonna kick your ass and you can have her back. 90 mile an hour down a two-lane road, loaded six gun on the dash. Bottle of Jack, riding shotgun, so there ain't no coming back. See, I told you once that she's mine, and this boy ain't afraid of doing time. If you hit your brakes, son, we're gonna play. So dog ain't barking, it's biting today. So there ain't no coming back. See, I told you once that she's mine, and this boy ain't afraid of doing time. If you hit your brakes, son, we're gonna play. So dog ain't barking, it's biting today.